You know that picture we all have in our heads of a leader? Someone with a fancy title, a certain look, a bunch of skills they learned in some expensive course? Well, what if that entire picture is completely backward? What if the most powerful, most effective leader you'll ever know isn't someone you need to follow, but someone you just need to unleash from within?
So let's just bust a couple of old myths right now. On one side, you've got the old way of thinking, that leadership is some exclusive club for a special few, and that you have to bolt on all these tools from the outside. But the new truth, the one we're going to dig into, is that the leader is already in there. It's in everyone. Your job isn't to become something you're not, it's to let out the person you already are.
And here it is. The whole premise is just this simple. Everything you actually need to lead, to make an impact, is already part of your internal toolkit. The real challenge isn't going out and finding new parts. Nope, it's about finding the locks and barriers that are keeping your own potential boxed up and removing them.
Okay, so what does this new kind of leadership actually look like? How does it feel? Let's explore a new manifesto, a set of principles that really redefines what it means to lead today.
First things first, this completely flips the script on what leadership is for. It's not about you, it's not about your ambition. Real leadership is about serving a mission that is way, way bigger than anyone's individual ego. It's the difference between trying to build a personal empire and genuinely wanting to solve a collective problem.
And when you're focused on that mission, something amazing happens to how you see your team. A modern leader isn't afraid of talent. They hunt for it. They're like a talent scout, constantly looking for the unique gifts in every single person, and then creating opportunities for those gifts to shine. See, the goal isn't to be the smartest person in the room. It's to build the smartest room.
This all leads to a pretty powerful realization. You don't have to be the expert in everything. In fact, you shouldn't be. The real skill is building a team where leadership is passed around. It's about being smart enough to recognize that the best person to lead on any given task is the one who knows the most about it, no matter what their job title is.
Okay, so that all sounds great in a manifesto, right? But what about in the real world when things get messy? Let's look at a story where these ideas, especially empathy, got put to the test in a really tough spot.
But first, before we dive into that story, we have to talk about the main villain, and that's ego. The simplest way to think about ego is just the story you tell yourself about who you are. And a lot of times, that story is written by fear and old wounds, and it's the #1 thing that blocks real connection.
So here's the story. A school mentor named Claudette walks into this really toxic situation between teachers and parents. The teachers were so burnt out, so bruised from past experiences, they basically told her, don't even bother. But Claudette did something different. First, she just listened. I mean, she really listened to all their frustrations. Then she proposed a new idea, but she put clear, safe boundaries around it so no one would get hurt again. And this is crucial. She invited the biggest doubters, the biggest skeptics, to help build it. The final step? She just humanized the whole thing, creating a space where people could finally see each other as people, not just as a teacher or a parent. And the result of all that? Well, that initiative that everyone said was doomed to fail didn't just work. It thrived for over a decade. It became so successful, it was used as a model for the entire school district. Now that is the power of choosing empathy over ego.
And this idea of empowerment, it isn't just for diffusing conflict, it's for building amazing teams from day one. Take the story of Eunice, who ran a care home. Instead of playing the hero and doing everything herself, she focused on making her team members the heroes of their own work. She didn't just hand out tasks, she gave them real responsibility. She didn't just want them to talk, she encouraged them to find their own voices. And if someone was quiet or hesitant, she didn't just assume why, she asked. She built a system where everyone, not just her, had a real chance to grow.
You know, all these stories, they all point to this one simple truth that we forget all the time. Leaders are human. The most powerful leaders aren't the ones who pretend to have it all together. They're the ones who are brave enough to be real.
This question right here, this is like a leadership master key. Instead of just giving an answer when someone brings you a problem, asking, what would you do if you were in my shoes, changes everything. You're not just solving a problem for them, you're inviting them to solve it with you. You're turning a monologue into a real dialogue.
So let's just pause on that for a second. Why is it so powerful for a leader to just be human? Why is admitting you don't know something or that you messed up actually a massive strength?
Well, the benefits create this incredible ripple effect. When you're authentic, you give everyone else permission to be authentic too. When you admit to making mistakes, it normalizes it for everyone, and it creates a culture where people learn instead of hide. And when that fear goes away, people can finally be fully present in their work. All of it builds a foundation of real, genuine trust.
And hey, being human also means embracing the good stuff, like joy. Leadership doesn't have to be this heavy, serious burden you carry around all day. Humor, fun, lightness, those aren't distractions from the work. They are essential tools that make the team more resilient and remind everyone that the journey itself actually matters. So, let's bring this all home. We've talked about tearing down those old myths. We've sketched out a new vision for leadership, one that's built on empathy and empowerment and just plain old humanity. But now it's time to turn that lens on the most important person here, you.
Because after all of this, after talking about missions bigger than ego, about letting other people shine, about the incredible power of being human, it all comes down to one simple, powerful, unavoidable truth. The leader we've been talking about this whole time, that leader is you.
So the only real question left to ask is this: if everything you truly need to lead is already inside you, what's stopping that leader from coming out?